So how in the world did I have pre-K make the little dots? Let's talk about it. To start, we used Model Magic. Our school purchases these ones that are in the package. So I don't give them a whole thing though, so let me show you how I break it up. So I hate opening them with my hands. So I cut open all over Model Magic, and then it just makes it so much easier to rip open. And then you get out the entire piece, and then I use my scissors and I cut into halves. So each pre-K student will be getting 1/2, but I don't give it to them like this. I actually take it and then I cut it into 6 pieces. Now that we have it in 6 pieces, I put them, because I prepared this ahead of time, so then I put all 6 pieces in a little cup so that they have that ready to go, so that they know they have 6 different pieces. So then when I'm modeling it for them, I tell them the pieces may have stuck together a little bit, just tear them apart. It's fine if they stick together. And then we are going to use 6 different colors. So that's my only stipulation, is that they use 6 different colors. They are not allowed to use the same color. The whole purpose of doing this activity is actually two-form. Yes, I'm getting a product that I can sell at the end, but this is also the first time I'm putting clay into their hands, and so I let them play with it for a little bit. I tell them Model Magic really likes to be played with, so we play with it for a little while. I remind them that squeezing it and pulling it, that really gets it working really where it's nice and soft. So if you can start to stretch it, it's warmed up. So we do that to all the pieces. And then I tell them that Model Magic is even more fun when we color it, and we can dye our clay with markers. So then we get out the washable markers, which I have in the middle of the table for them. I do not include black and I do not include brown. I do not want black pieces and I do not want brown pieces, because we know that black and brown take over all the other colors. So I remind them they can use any colors they want, but it cannot be black and it cannot be brown, which I don't even have available for them. So then I model how to color our clay. So to color it, I tell them you can use your marker and literally just color all over it. I tell them to flip it over. You can push into it too to add some more color. If you would rather push in, I have them fold it again and then add more color, add as much color as you want. And then here is when the magic starts to happen. Make sure you snap that lid back on. That's always a part of our pre-K lessons. Hear the snap. Then with your hands, and yes, you are gonna get dye on your hands. It's okay, it's washable. This is messy, art is messy. It's okay, we can wash our hands. Then you just start to squish and pull, squeeze. I always do it, squish and pull and squish and pull and squish and pull, and I say it over and over again as they're working. Now sometimes my kids really love the marble effect, and so they'll stop before the color is all mixed in, because they really love to be able to see the marble effect, especially if they're mixing 2 colors together. But for this project, I kind of wanted them to get the color mixed in as much as they could. So just squish and pull and squish and pull, and then that color gets all the way mixed through. So then we do all of the colors. So like magic, let's make that happen. Now that all the colors are mixed together, I did just do straight color mixes of these colors. You can encourage your kids to mix 2 different colors together, see what they can create. I did allow my pre-K students to mix colors together with their clay. It allows for more variation in those colors for the end product, so I was perfectly fine with that. But for today's purposes, I went with just the straight colors. I then had them, this is too big for the pieces, so I then gave them a clear transparency sheet, and I told them if it's not on this sheet, we cannot save them, because when I peel them off of the table, it will mess up your work. So make sure you're making all of your dots on the clear transparency sheet. Now, because this is a collaborative project, I did not need to know what student made what, so I didn't have to put names on here, but in other classes I will write with a marker their name right here, so that I'm able to know whose student does what work. But for today, I just needed them to do the dots. So I encouraged them to split each ball into 2 pieces. Now they needed to roll the dot and then squish it down between their finger, and then it makes a new circle. If they want to make even smaller circles, they could split it again and they could make another one that's even smaller. If they were not comfortable squishing it between their hands, I also encourage them just to squish it onto the paper itself. Either way works. I personally prefer this, but I found that a lot of the kids, because they had played with this so much, that when they would go to squish it down, their fingers would stick and then it would pull the clay back up with their fingers. So you might just have to experiment with your class and figure out what works best for them. So I liked having all different sizes of clay. So I encourage them just to split up their balls and make several different dots of clay and then push down. Any way they could make room on here, it did not matter, just to have all of their pieces onto one spot. So again, if you want to roll it and then squish it between your fingers, you can do that and then put it down. So either way is fine. This way I'm able to get 3 of the kids' dots at least. I did have some kids that made even smaller ones. You could see that in the end product. So they split theirs up even to smaller little bitty pieces. Really, honestly, I did not care. I had no rules, no stipulations. I wanted this to look as kid-like as possible, as abstract as possible. So if they wanted to make 10 dots with their clay, they could make 10 dots. If they wanted a couple of really big dots, they could make a couple of really big dots. So as you can see, this process goes pretty quickly, but it allows them to work with smushing the dough, coloring the dough, playing with the clay, really seeing what it feels like, because it's different than Play-Doh. It's not slime. It's also different than mud clay, but this is definitely a good stepping stone. And then after they have all of their pieces onto their board, I then take it from them, and I'm going to show you what I do to help make all the pieces a little bit more uniform. So, because see, some kids would even do this. They wouldn't come to me and they wouldn't be squished down just right. Sometimes they'd be like this. So let me show you what I do to help prevent that from happening. Let me get all the dots down. And then see, that's a good instance. So see, I was squishing it down and it's just stuck to my fingers. So some of the kids would get frustrated. So that's when I would tell them, do it with your hand and then put it down. So really it's just up to each kid, because some kids have texture issues. Some kids just don't like feeling it in their hands very much. So really it's just up to them. Okay, now I have all of my dough on my mat. So let me show you what I expected from them after this step. Once they have brought it to me, I then take a large transparency sheet, bigger than the ones that I gave them. This is a half sheet. I cut these in half, give them half a sheet. But for me, I put a whole piece down on top of their sheet, and then I just take a heavy book and then I press down. And this just allows the dots to be consistent in their thickness. So some of them may still be a little bit thicker than others, but you're allowing your end product to be a little bit more consistent. So then I take off my book, and as you can see, it's squished down my dots just a little bit more. I peel off the top transparency sheet. Sometimes you might have a few little stickers, and if that's the case, I'll show you what I do. If any of them come off, and then I just peel them and I put them back on. But really, that is it. Once you have the dots all smushed down, you can even use your hand and smush it back down after you've had to move some of those dots back over. But then it sticks to this really well, and then you're able to move this whole sheet to a drying rack, keep it nice and safe, let it dry for at least 2 days. Personally, I let these dry for over a week. I feel like Magic model clay, it takes a while to dry, so you definitely want to make sure they're nice and dry before you frame them, because you don't want them getting moldy or anything when they don't have air. So you want it to be nice and dry before you frame them. But then once they're dry, and then you sort all the colors, and then you just put them with hot glue onto your canvas, and then you end up with, you know, a really cool collaborative piece where literally these are all pre-K dots. Not a single one is mine. This is all of pre-K's work, which is really cool. You know, it makes a really, really cool impact and a statement whenever you can say, look what these babies can do. Like, how cool is that? And I hope somebody will be very proud to hang this up in their house. So instead of just the typical like handprint work or whatever. So anyway, that's it. That's how you do it. Hope that helped.